Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ghost Stories with Anjelah. I am your host, Anjelah. And today I have my friend Johnny Giovanni with me.
Hello, everybody.
And today Johnny is my bodyguard.
Yeah, I'm just like your spiritual muscle.
Yeah, he's my spiritual muscle today because I called Johnny today. I was like, look, I'm about to do my Ghost Stories episode tonight. And I don't want to be by myself. Can you please just come and be with me? And he was like, I'm game, because Johnny is just cool like that. And so we are here tonight, and it's going to be a very special night. One, typically I have a cocktail. I am getting my second vax shot tomorrow, and they say you should be super hydrated when you get it because that's going to help you not have any symptoms. So I'm not having a cocktail. I'm drinking all the water so that I can be super hydrated.
I will be drinking for both of us.
Thank you.
So,
Cheers.
Listen, I'm here for a spooky buzz.
Spooky buzz indeed. So tonight is going to be a very special episode of Ghost Stories with Anjelah because we are going to be talking about a situation that happened on a previous episode where I was interviewing my friend Stax, and it was very creepy. And so I was like, there's only one person that I can come to with this to help explain what happened, what this was, help us figure it out. And then not only that, because I was actually talking about him when the creepy thing happened. So we are going to jump right in today. Please welcome my very special guest, psychic medium AJ Barrera.
Woo!
Hey, hello everyone. Hello. Thank you for having me on.
Welcome back, AJ. I know we've had you on before and everybody loved it when you were on, and it was such a special time. And so you know what happened with me on a recent episode. I am going to walk everyone through who missed the episode. And if you were watching live, I'm about to tell you the backstory, like what happened after we hung up with the episode for the next few days, what was happening. So if you were watching that episode, you'll get to hear all the backstory. And for everybody else, this is brand new information. And then AJ, let's help us figure out what the heck this was. Okay. So we were interviewing, I was talking to Stax, and he was telling me about maybe he has these spirit guides. He's not quite sure. It's these two specific ghosts that he's seen his whole life. And these two ghosts, one is a woman, one is a man, and he's talking about them. And I start talking about AJ, and I'm telling Stax, I'm like, oh, you should meet my friend AJ Barrera. He's a psychic medium. Right as I said that, I heard something in my headphones. And I kept talking, like I said, like one or two more words, because I was like, did I hear something? I didn't hear something. Just keep going. And then I was like, pause, you heard something. And then I was like, wait, did you just whisper something? And he was like, no. And I'm like, are you sure, bro? So let's just play the clip of what happened, and then I'll tell you what happens after that. We have had on the show AJ Barrera, and he is a psychic medium. And he said, first of all, did you just whisper something? Did somebody just whisper something?
Not at all.
Oh, hell no. I just heard something whisper in my earphones. You swear you didn't just whisper something?
No, but that was happening to me here 2 nights ago in my kitchen. I went upstairs and went to sleep because it was annoying me.
Okay, I totally just heard something right now. I don't know if, and leave a comment if you guys just heard that, unless it was just in my headphones. But
well, you're in the dark room, and that little doorway back there is creeping me out.
I know. Trust. I am creeped out myself. Oh my God, I just heard it. Tell me if you guys heard it in the comments, please. Okay. Oh, Danielle says, I heard a whisper too. Totally heard whispering. Everybody hears whispering.
Yeah, I don't. That's crazy.
You-
Everyone's saying that. Yeah, I totally heard that. Yes, I heard it. I heard whispering. I heard it. Shit.
Oh,
no, for real, I heard it.
I gotta replay this back and see if. Okay. So that happened. Let me give you a little backstory before that. So I was, drink up, boo. It's going to get crazier. So I was in Nashville by myself. Manny had flown back to California, so it was just me and Bonzo. And that day, I started thinking about, I'm doing ghost stories tonight, but I'm by myself. And I do ghost stories in the back recording studio. And we live like on this property where it looks like a forest. And so I was already thinking like, great, it's going to be 10 o'clock at night by the time I wrap. And I'm going to be walking by myself.
Through like a haunted woodland?
Yes, through like a haunted woodland type thing that you see in a movie by myself. So I purposely was like, okay, I'm going to leave Bonzo in the house because if he growls at a leaf blowing by, I'm going to get scared, thinking like, oh, he sees a spirit. So no, Bonzo, you staying in the house.
Now,
So-
are you a runner when you're scared? Like, are you like that person who like ninjas all your lights when you get to your room?
So
or,
what's funny is I do opposite attack. I do like faux confidence.
like, I'm really, 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 really not afraid. I'm really not afraid at all.
Oh, I do like faux confidence. Like I full on be making eye contact through the dark, be like, who's looking at me? Like full on. And I'll hit the light real hard when I turn it out and be like, like turn the light out. And then like, I like take my time locking the door. So I'm not all fidgety and like, like scared. Like I like lock
Do
the
it
door.
once, do it right.
That's what I'm saying. And then I walk like I bow up, you know what I mean? And I walk like I'm all tough. Like I take that approach. So anyways, I was already thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be by myself. It's going to be creepy, whatever. So I leave Bonzo in the house. Then that happens. And so I'm freaked out already. And then as soon as we hang up, I tell my producer, Ryan, I'm like, hey, if you see that clip, if you find it, send it to me. And he's like, okay, cool. So then I do my whole lock up, walk to the front house, pretending like I'm real confident. And I made it safe inside in the house. And then I lock up. I'm getting ready for bed. So now I'm in my bedroom. All the lights are out. I'm in the, so I text AJ this. And I was like, bruh. That was my text to him.
Okay.
I just said, bruh. And I was waiting for him to reply with, what? I was waiting for that one. And I didn't get no response. And I was like, oh my God, the spirit.
I'm alone in this.
The spirit's got AJ and by myself.
I already went to sleep at the time when she texted.
I know.
Inside his bed. He's just sucked in. AJ.
I am full on laying in my bed, falling asleep. I have Bonzo with me, whatever. Then as I'm like closing my eyes, falling asleep, now Ryan sends me the clip. And I'm like, well, I got to watch it now. So I watch the clip while I'm laying in the bed and I hear it and I go, oh, shoot. Like that was something. I definitely heard it. So now I text the video clip to my mom and I was like, Mom, check this out. And then I text it to my brother, Kenny. I was like, check this out. Then I call my brother, Mitchell, and I'm on the phone with Mitchell and I'm falling asleep. Like eyes are half open, half closed. And I'm like, bro, I'm about to send you this video clip right now. It's so crazy. As I'm telling him what I'm about to send him, all of a sudden the sound bar on my TV turns on by itself.
No,
Yes.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
Because that's like this audio thing. It's like amplified spook.
Bruh. So I'm on the phone with my brother and all of a sudden it goes bloop, bloop. And I was like,
Oh, does it have a tone and everything? So
Yeah.
it's not even just a light. It's like a bloop bloop.
No, it's a bloop, bloop.
No.
Yeah. It blooped at me. And I was like, Mitchell, let me call you back. And then I hang up with him and I call Manny right away because I don't know this sound system. And so I'm like, babe, the sound bar just like bloop blooped at me. Like, what does that mean? And he's like, oh, it does that all the time. And like trying to like calm me down. And he's like, it always does that. Like every time you say, hey, Google, it does that. And I'm go, oh, cool. Only I did not say, hey, Google.
I said, hey, Mitchell, I'm sending you this thing and I texted it.
Yeah. Mitchell, Google. Maybe it was that. Maybe you heard Mitchell and thought it was Google. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, so then the bloop bloop happens. I hang up with Manny because now I'm getting upset because he doesn't believe me that something's happening. I'm like, I gotta go. Bye. And I hang up with him. And now I resort to the only thing that I know how to do is I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. You are not
You're the
welcome
person
here.
that when the plane's going down
Yeah.
that's yelling. That's that person. That's who you were.
I rebuke you. You are not welcome here. Unsubscribe. No, thank you.
Unfollow. block.
Close all the doors. Goodbye. And then so I put my sound machine on my app on my phone. So it's like a loud fan noise and like drown out all the other noise. And then I pull Bonzo like real close to me and I just like fall asleep like this with Bonzo next to me. So then now it's the next day. And not even the next day. So next evening, finally AJ called me back. This guy over here busy as hell, has clients all day long. Full on 24 hours later.
No time for full manifestation. Of
Not even. This guy's like, did you book an appointment? And I'm like, no, bitch, I forgot. Call me back.
You're too much.
So now it's the whole next night. AJ calls him back and I'm explaining to him what happened. And so he starts asking me questions. And he's like, okay, was it a male voice or a female voice? And I'm like, I don't know. But my mom seems to think that it's a female voice. And he's like, okay, what is it saying? I'm like, I don't know. That's why I'm calling you. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to send you my clip. And my brother slowed it down so you can hear the slowed down version. So I send it to AJ and then he calls me back. And then AJ, do you remember what you said when you called me back?
Not to the specifics, but I don't want to give it away. But do you want me to just say it?
Sure. Tell me
Okay.
what happened when you called me.
Immediately, what happened is I listened to the clip. I heard what I heard, and I had my wife listen to the audio, not telling her what I've heard. And I said, "Here, listen to this." And she goes like, "Oh my God, did you just hear what I heard?" I'm like, yeah. That's why I'm asking you. I said, and I asked her, I go, "What did it say?" She said, "It said Anjelah." It said Anjelah. It didn't have like the G in it, like Anjelah, but Anjelah. And when I heard that, my wife heard it. I called her up and I told her, I'm like, she goes, "Oh, hell no. Like, you go to the white light, like you pretend I unsubscribe, all that stuff." And I'm laughing and she was freaking out. And I said, "Anjelah, it's not anything to, freak out about." I go like, there's a reason why, this came through. Typically when we hear EVPs or, disembodied voice, well, your audio is a disembodied voice where everyone was able to hear that. So it's not an EVP where you have to go back and play back the audio and listen to it and analyze the information. But your disembodied voice, which came from an entity. And when I say entity, I mean like a spirit, a loved one, an energy, not anything demonic, not anything evil, but it set your name because there's a close connection to you of an individual that passed over. And the person that I mentioned to you, can I share that?
Yeah.
The individual that I mentioned said, "Anjelah, I remember you just posted that your grandmother passed away. I feel like this is your grandmother's way saying goodbye or saying hello to you, letting you know that she made it to heaven or made it to the other side or made it to whatever place you want to call it." More importantly, our loved ones will use energy. We'll use electronics to communicate with us. So the fact that your sound bar went on is another validation for me as a medium that these two go hand in hand together, that happened the same day, same night, for that validation purposes. It takes a lot of energy for spirit to communicate using a disembodied voice because we're not all able to hear that. And the fact that it was captured live on Ghost Stories, many audience people, many viewers, many subscribers were watching it. It just shows there's much more proof than the physical body. There's something more out there. And we need to recognize that this is just the vessel. Our body's just a vessel. Our soul, our spirit is the driver. So we're kind of in the back seat, basically, kind of enjoying this ride until we transition, we graduate, or we make that transition where we go to college or we go to a higher education where we evolve and grow. But for you, that's a class A disembodied voice. Truly, class A.
Oh, you're A.
Okay. VIP list of the spiritual world. Thank you very much. So I have a few questions and clarifications that I want to talk to you about disembodied voice versus EVP, but I want to finish what happened in this and then we'll come back to that. So after I talked to AJ and I was getting freaked out and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm freaking," and he was like calming me down and talking about how it could be my grandma and stuff like that. And then I'm like, okay, well now I feel bad for rebuking it, but okay, whatever.
Grandma, get out, unsubscribe. Get behind me.
Get thee behind me,
Abuela.
So then I hang up with AJ and I'm like, well, I'm not going to re-listen to this because it's already the nighttime again and I'm by myself still. So I'm going to wait until the next day to listen to it. So I go to sleep. Next day, I totally forget to listen to the audio. Now I'm driving in my car. It's a beautiful sunny day in Nashville, Tennessee. Beautiful. It's like 3 p.m. I'm on the phone with my mom and we're on Bluetooth and I'm telling her what happened. I'm like, and then I talked to AJ. He's thinking maybe it was my grandma, blah, 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 blah. As I'm telling my mom the story, all of a sudden my windshield wipers turn on by themselves. Shoo, shoo, as I'm telling her the story.
No, and you're not driving a German car. It's like straight.
It's a full-on sunny day.
No way.
Like there was no moisture to like trigger it or anything.
That's wild.
Yeah. And then I tell my mom, I go, oh my God, Mom, my windshield wipers just turned on. And she's like, okay, well, ask this spirit, like, what does it want to say to you? And, ask it questions. I was like, okay, I'll call you back. So I hang up with my mom and I go, okay, if this is a nice, loving spirit trying to communicate with me, what would you like to tell me? And if this is not a nice spirit, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. You are not welcome here. Unsubscribe.
Just in case you're not up, Wayla, please leave.
I full on was like, just in case, bye. But if you're my grandma, what did you want to say? And I didn't know how to like listen for an answer, which I talked to AJ about it afterwards. So I'm like looking at like license plates, seeing if I like see anything written in a license plate or like a van driving by with an advertisement. I'm looking at billboards. I'm like, okay, where's the answer? What are you trying to tell me? And I didn't like hear or feel anything. But all that to say, so then I get back and I tell AJ what happened again. And when we originally talked about it possibly being my grandma, this was the interesting thing. So he's like, do you have an anniversary date of a loved one's death coming up? And the only anniversary date I had coming up was my neighbor's sister, who I never met her, but I was like on her prayer team. She passed away of COVID. And it was April 29th, I believe, was her 1 year.
Wow.
So I had been praying for her. I had since become close with her brother and her son and daughter. And so I was like, it could be her. Her anniversary date's coming up. And he's like, well, didn't you have a grandma pass away recently? And I was like, I did. But she wasn't like my close grandma. And that's why I started talking about how she was like my tough love grandma. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, maybe that's why the voice came in kind of masculine and not so feminine, because that's kind of the energy that my grandma gave me. And so as we were talking about it, I was like, what's funny is when I got the call that my grandma passed away, I was actually living in the recording studio. We had set that up as our living studio. So our bed was in there, couch, like all our stuff. We were living in that studio when I got the call. So I did all of my processing about my grandma in that studio. I did all my journaling about her.
So it's like now uniquely tied to that experience.
Yeah. So then that's why we're like, okay, maybe it is my grandma, because that was the room where I was like realizing how much I'm like her in good ways and bad ways. And like, that's where I did all my processing about my grandma. So, AJ, tell me a little bit about like, how do we know that when you have an experience like that, a disembodied voice versus an EVP, that it is a positive thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So, typically when we are in our own domain, our own home, our car, wherever we're at, and we actually captured a disembodied voice, typically it's going to be a loved one that's communicating with you. Very rarely you're going to have some sort of entity, some, random spirit or a random hitchhiker in your car, spiritually speaking, that's going to be in there talking with you to communicate. But there is a difference between an EVP. I know a couple of people asked on here. An EVP stands for electronic voice phenomenon. And the way that is captured is through a simple digital recorder. This is how I do all my paranormal investigations, with using this recorder, doing all my private readings. So it's a way that we can track information or data when spirit comes through, because oftentimes with EVPs, we don't know what's coming through. So this is why we use a recorder to play back that information. When we use EVPs as a researcher, psychic medium, paranormal investigator, we're there to document spirit. So you may get a male's voice, a female's voice, children's voices, and it's because we're there documenting that experience or documenting that location, we're attracting that energy. So I don't think you were naturally attracting your grandmother in that very moment. Obviously, you were doing ghost stories. You were there doing the show. And I feel like in that moment, because it's your recording studio, it's an energy that you spent your time by maybe processing, grieving, understanding, accepting that was your grandma's way coming through. Now, with the disembodied voice, when your grandmother came through, spiritually speaking, even though it sounded like a male's voice, again, they will use frequencies and energies to communicate with us. So when your grandmother was communicating, it's out of love and support. It's not out of negativity. If anyone here watching the replay, what's going to happen here is that if you are driving in your car, this is a beautiful example, guys. If you're driving in your car and you're missing a specific loved one, you're like, God, I really miss this specific loved one. And all of a sudden, the song that they love listening to pops up on the radio. You're like, oh my God, this is like so-and-so's favorite song. This is the same way that they communicate with us. It's like a soul to soul or mind to mind connection. So there's not really going to be any negativity. The only way you're going to attract negativity with any EVPs, to be quite honest, unless you provoke, meaning say, you know, get the hell out of here. You're a coward, or you're provoking some sort of energy. You're going to get that energy. So I always tell people, be careful what you wish for when you're doing investigations, but never really in readings or in homes that you're going to get a negative energy, if that all makes sense.
Yeah. There's this account on Instagram that I follow of this guy who's like a ghost hunter, but he's a cholo ghost hunter. Have you seen him?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's so aggressive. He's so aggressive. Like he's like cussing at the ghost, and then through the EVP, the ghost will cuss back at him, and it'll be like if you puto, and they're like going back and forth.
Watch what happens.
Yeah.
And that's a form. And here's the thing, guys. That's a form of provoking. Like if you're gonna provoke, you're making an energy angry and upset. So you're gonna attract that. You're gonna attract that negativity and that energy from that spirit. So this is why I tell people, when you go into investigations, if it's like a haunted location, a home, whatever it is, you really want to go in there with the right light, right intention. I always do prayer. I always do a protection, a meditation before I go into a home, investigation, a location, just to ground and protect myself, knowing that what I'm doing and what I'm walking into comes from good light and good intention. So we all have to be aware of that. But with this individual that provokes, it's not always the best thing to do, because again, you're going to attract that negativity into your home. But also there may be a form of what we call an attachment, where that spirit will attach to that home, that location, or to you.
Yeah. So I definitely do not antagonize or instigate any kind of spiritual drama.
And I like confrontation. I just wouldn't do that with it. I'm also too codependent for approval, so I would help with hauntings if possible. If they need it, I'm just trying to help, do my best.
Let's Ryan, let's play the clip of the whisper slowed down for everybody so they can hear it. He is a psychic medium, and he said, first of all, did you just whisper something? Yeah, that definitely sounds like my name.
100%. 100%.
AJ, do you think there's something to the fact that I was talking about you while it happened, or is that just coincidence?
Synchronicity, coincidence. I believe there's a reason for that. Absolutely. When you sent me that clip and you said, hey, I was just talking about you and this voice came up. Again, this is just another validation from spirit, from your loved one, from grandma, just letting you know that she's around you. And this is just her way giving you confirmation, not only through the disembodied voice, but also through me as a medium, to let you know that it's all kosher, it's good, it's safe, it's nothing evil. And I feel like that, since, you know, there's part of that synchronicity, like you're able to reach out and make that connection where you're not begging your head or pulling your hair out, like panicking, saying like, oh my God, what did I get into? It's more so reassurance to say, this is grandma's way of saying, I love you, supporting you. And there may also be a message, the way that we connect with our loved ones in a very simple moment is just like, just take a beat, take a moment, like what your mom said in the vehicle. When those wipers went off, just ask her, are you a good spirit? What's your message? What's your sign? We're not going to get this big almighty sign like, which you said earlier, which kind of made me laugh, that you expected this truck to come by with a big message, or, this is what's going to happen. Right? Exactly. And we all look for the big message, but sometimes the messages are very subtle. Oftentimes they're very subtle when they come through. But what I've noticed oftentimes too, is that people will recognize, say, that person's death anniversary or that person's birthday in spirit on a license plate, or their initials on a license plate. So that's always a good thing to look at as well in those moments. But I feel like that when you probably communicated with your grandmother or asked that question, like, are you good? Are you bad? Is it grandmother? Is it not? You may have actually just got a subtle thought, like hearing your own thought. If that happened, it's just going to be your way, your grandma's way, or a loved one's way, giving you that confirmation and that reassurance that they're there with you in that very moment.
I love that. I love that it happened while I was talking about you, because like you said, like it's almost pointing to you to like reassure that this is not something negative or whatever. And then I was like, was it coming in on his end? Because I was interviewing Stax and he was talking about this female ghost that he's seen since he was a child that's very protective of him, like, and kind of jealous of him. So I was like, okay, was that her trying to, like, come at me and be like, why are you talking to my man? You know what I mean?
Your life, excuse you life.
Yeah.
Please leave.
Yeah, no, thank you. So then I didn't know if it was that too. I was like, okay, was this for him or for me? Like, who? But then when it said my name, I was like, oh, okay, it's for me. I got it.
Well, even with me with audio, audio can be very I won't say easy to be debunked, but there's certain series with EVPs. Disembodied voices are typically going to be very clear, very loud. You can hear it with the naked ear. Now, EVPs, when you get them, there's a Class A, Class B, and Class C. So Class A is basically you can hear it very clear when you go back, play the audio on a recorder. B is representing that you can hear it, but you don't know what it really says. So you have to go back and talk to the group that you're working with. Oh, this is what it said. And then when they replay it back, they're like, oh, yeah, this is what I'm hearing. Class C's, I don't really do Class C's because they're kind of respectfully, there's just sounds or vibrations that come through. And that could be someone burping, someone's stomach growling, ambient noise, be different things. So I'm not a big fan of Class C's. I mean, they're great to keep, but I'm not a big fan of sharing them because there's not very clear audio on that.
This person here, Anna Reza, says, following my mother's death, lights in my built-in kitchen china hutch go on. Most interestingly, they turn on milestone dates in or when I am overly stressed or worried.
Wow. So, Anna, so this is a great example of your mother's way coming through and recognizing you, expressing her love and her gratitude towards you. I find that as a beautiful thing. The fact that it happens in that china cabinet or that china hutch on very interesting days or moments where you're down or depressed or stressed out, it's their way letting you know that they're with you. So there's great examples, like I mentioned earlier, electronics, iPads, computers, cell phones, they'll use anything to draw up that energy to communicate with you. There's been many times that I've done investigations for certain shows or just on my own where I have a brand new pack of batteries, haven't even opened them, put them in my devices, and they're drained. They're completely dead. So again, spirit will use that. Oftentimes when I work in production and filming, lighting goes out, the batteries get drained. I mean, it happens all the time. And you got to think that spirit got to pull that energy from somewhere. And I think your mom is pulling that energy from the china cabinet, from electricity. So they're using that. So Anna, take this out of love from your mom, saying hello from heaven and that she's with you and guiding you.
That is special.
Absolutely.
That's like, I've talked about it before on this podcast, but when I was in that venue in Cleveland, only I don't think it was a nicey spirit. I don't know quite sure, but all of our electronics were going nuts. From my social media guy who was filming me for that show, like all of his stuff wasn't working. His computer wouldn't charge. He couldn't even iron his shirt. The iron wouldn't work. Like none of it was working. And we had so many crazy things happen from something answered my phone. Like my friend called me. Okay, what happened was Johnny doesn't know the story.
I don't know this story.
Okay, let me tell you. AJ, I don't know.
And I hate missing phone calls, so this stresses me out on a lot of different levels.
So we're at this venue in Cleveland and we're on the bus tour at this point. And so I'm in the green room, which is in the basement of this old Masonic venue, right?
I just need to figure this
So yeah, serve another glass for this story, but
right.
So we're in the basement. That's where the green room is.
See, which is already this creepy.
Oh, it's
take
already
me downstairs in this old ass building.
Oh,
yeah, thanks.
From the moment we arrived, that's usually my first question when I talk to the stage manager. I go, "Oh, is this place haunted?" First question out the gate, and it usually is. It's always is. And
it's always the churches that are haunted. It's so weird.
It's true.
And I'm like, what's the story? Tell us. So he gives us a tour of the building and he tells us like the different stories, right? And so there was a part where, we're walking down a hallway and Bonzo would not walk down the hallway, like full on. So anyways, we're down in the basement green room. My friend Elena's there with me. And I was like, oh, I left Bonzo's dog food on the bus. Can you go get it for me so I can feed him? She's like, yeah. So she leaves to go get the food on the bus. Now it's just me and Bonzo in the basement green room by ourselves. I'm on the computer typing an email because I'm real important or something. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember. So I'm typing my email. And then I notice Bonzo's gone. And I'm like, where the heck did he go? So I put the computer down. I start walking up the stairs and there's Bonzo walking up the stairs, like going just, investigating on an adventure because that's what he likes to do in venues. So I was like, Bonzo, get over here. And I pick him up. I come back into the green room and I close the door so he can't sneak out. And then I look at my phone that was on the table and all of a sudden it's on. Like, you know how when you're talking to someone, the clock is going, like you've been on the phone for 1 minute and 30 seconds, right? So my phone is on, clocking like it's on a phone call. And I'm like, that's weird. So I pick it up, and as I pick it up, I can hear someone talking, and I'm like, hello? And it's my friend Elena, who just went to the bus.
Has she been talking to you?
She goes, can you hear me? And I go, did you just call me? She goes, yeah. I'm like, are you serious? She goes, yeah. Somebody answered and said, hey. So I started talking.
No.
She was on the bus asking me where the food was. And I'm no one was in the green room to answer that phone call. But somebody answered it because she was talking.
You have a very efficient personal assistant ghost.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, she needs her food though. Listen, we have 10 minutes till curtain and she's got to get it.
So that was so creepy that I was like, oh, hell no. And then it just more electronic things from there. I was playing Spotify music on my phone and it kept kicking me off. And Manny and I share an account. So I thought it was Manny listening to Spotify kicking me off. So I call Manny and I'm like, babe, are you listening to Spotify? And he's like, no. I'm like, oh, it keeps kicking me off. That's weird. So then the next time it kicks me off, I click to see who's listening to it. Because it'll say now listening on, Manuel's iPhone or whatever. So I go, oh, let me see who's listening to my Spotify account. And I click and it says now playing on Anjelah Johnson's iPad. And I'm
wow.
iPad? That's weird because my iPad is in my backpack on the bus. So this is the end of the night where it's now just me and the merchandise girl. So what happened was we were all showered in our pajamas, ready to go on the bus driving to the next city. Our merchandise girl was the last one. She was by herself and she needed to go in and take a shower. And I was like, I'm not going to let you go in there by yourself and take a shower. So I will come with you. I will take one for the team. I will come with you. And I was playing music while she was in the shower so we wouldn't be creeped out in the basement showers, right? So it's just me and her. And then it keeps kicking me off. I'm like, that's weird. So anyways, then we're leaving the venue. And I was a little bit, I guess, kind of intact. Not really, but I was going like, bye, ghost. See you later. Like stuff like that.
The ghost is like, say it again.
Uh-huh.
So she says it one more time.
Yeah, you go see me later is what it said. And so now I'm on the bus, right? And I go, let me go check my iPad. I pull out my iPad from my backpack. Tell me why the battery is dead.
Yeah, I mean that's part of spirit that's coming through and recognizing the energy around you. So again, they will use certain energies to recognize you and pull energy through different devices. So again, electronics, all that good stuff. It's going to be their way. Sorry, there's probably background noise. Sorry, guys.
I think the spirit found you.
Sorry, that's probably my wife watching a game. I don't even know if she's watching something. Forgive me, but I feel like in some ways they're going to use different ways to communicate with us or use certain energies to recognize you guys. And I think that's part of that spirit's way of saying, hey, I have an opportunity to communicate with you since you're in that building. They're having in the bus. But there is a theory around that we have to look at with the cell phone energy. So I don't want to get into conspiracies and all that stuff, but there is a conspiracy around that with phones. If you call someone and they're in another room or a different place and you guys are talking about something, typically the person can hear what you're talking about. So they actually will hear your voice before they even pick up the phone. So it's something to look into. It's pretty trippy, but that's either part of government. That's either part of, I don't think anything paranormal, but Big Brother. Exactly. So there are things that we need to look at. But spirits, again, they're going to use your iPad in a way to drain that energy. So either it did not have enough energy to communicate with you in that basement or in that green room, they're going to find other means to communicate with you. So again, electronics are number one of how they're going to communicate with us. There's a lot of great questions too that are coming in here.
Yeah,
as well.
Answer them. Go for it.
Yeah. Oh, you have one up on here. Perfect. Do you want to read it? Go ahead.
My wife's mom lets her know she is still watching over her when she is dealing with a hard time through her favorite song. Only time we hear the song on the radio is when my wife is upset or stressed about something.
Right. So I feel like in those moments, again, music is a form of vibration. So is prayer. It's a form of vibration. So they're going to use these means to communicate with you. Those moments when we're sad, nervous, worried, concerned, all that good stuff. They're there with us just to validate us in those very moments. And if we just take that little thought, that little idea of just knowing that, oh my God, that's my mom, that's my loved one coming through, they're going to recognize you and saying, hey, this is my sign to you. So again, everyone that's on here watching or doing the replay, again, our loved ones are all around us. If you're a big believer or not, or skeptical, sometimes having our own personal experiences means more than anything else.
If you guys have any questions for AJ, please go ahead and leave it in the comment section. I have another story to tell you, AJ, too, actually, that's very interesting right now. So I had a friend who passed away when I was like 7 years old, and she died in a car accident. She was my best friend, and we were in Campfire together. Campfire is poor man's Girl Scouts for anybody who doesn't know. So we were in Campfire together, and she got in a car accident. She passed away, and I'm currently writing something, and I wanted to mention my childhood friend Lisa in what I was writing. And so I started like asking my mom questions, like, what do you remember about our friendship? Because we were young, we were in second grade. And, she's telling me about like, oh, you guys were both so shy. And I was shy growing up. And she's like, you guys were both shy and you were polite and kind to each other, very sweet. She just smiled a lot, and she's telling me about her and stuff. And I was like, this is like 3 weeks ago. And I'm like, I want to reach out to her mom. Like, I want to send her mom an email. And one, let her know that her daughter's not forgotten. And two, let her know that I want to write about her daughter in this thing that I'm writing. And so I Google her and I find her mom, and maybe like a week goes by and my mom's like, did you email her yet? And I was like, no, like, I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know. Like, I haven't emailed her yet. So anyways, yesterday I'm sitting at my kitchen table and I was like, just write the email, just write it and send it. So I'm writing this email and I'm like, I don't know if you remember me. I was a friend of your daughter's. And I was even just like trying to put myself in her shoes, like receiving an email out of the blue, hearing your daughter's name again, reading your daughter's name after all these years. Like, I don't know what that's going to trigger. And like, I didn't want it to be like trigger sorrow in her. Like, if anything, I wanted it to like allow her to feel joy that her daughter's being thought about, after all these years. So I finally wrote the email, sent it to her. She got back to me right away, was like it was received very well on her end. And so we just sent a couple emails back and forth. And then she was like, thank you so much. This email really made my day. Tomorrow is Lisa's birthday. And she would have been 39. And I was like, unreal. I was like, this is a gift from God for you, because I Googled you 3 weeks ago. And I finally had the courage to email you today, the day before your daughter's birthday.
Wow.
That's wild.
Yeah. I don't believe in coincidences. Yeah. Goosebumps are always, validation. Chills are validation for us. Even if you're not a medium or psychic, we're all intuitive. We all have the ability. We all have that gut feeling. And that is a perfect part of synchronicity, that spirit kind of put this all together for you. The fact that you were sitting on it for 3 weeks and all of a sudden you emailed her right beforehand. I mean, that's a beautiful validation that her daughter is, with her on her 39th birthday and saying like, thank you for doing this. But more importantly, it's her way honoring you and thanking you and sending her gratitude towards you, saying, thank you for thinking about my mom. Thank you for thinking about me. So it's a beautiful glove that goes on the hand that just fits perfectly. And you can't orchestrate these things. They just happen for the right reasons and the right timing.
And you know what? I prayed before I sent that email, and I was like, God, I just pray that she receives this with joy and not sorrow. And she said that. She was like, when I read your email, I cried, but they were like tears of joy, not sadness. And I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I prayed. Like, I wanted her to feel like joy, and she had tears of joy. And then the other thing that was kind of like a silent thing within me, and I didn't know how to describe it or articulate it. And I still kind of don't even know what it is that I'm trying to communicate. But I was like, part of me wants her, the mom, to feel proud of me in a way that is like for her daughter. Like,
right.
Like, I want her to be proud of me and what I've accomplished, almost in honor of your daughter. Like, I don't know how to communicate that, but I was like, there was this sense of like, I want you to feel proud of me so that it could be about your daughter too. And I don't know how that would connect in any way, but there was like something in me that kind of wanted that. And then she wrote that in there too. She was like, I am very proud of you. And I was like, See?
So beautiful. It's so beautiful because again, the mind is so powerful. Prayer is so powerful. So if you're religious or not, or you're spiritualist, whatever your belief is, or whatever you look into, if it's about the universe or law of attraction, what we put out there is what we get back to us, and that's a perfect example of law of attraction. And I think prayer is a beautiful way because it is again a form of vibration. So the fact that you prayed about it, again, it's about God's way and Spirit's way, the universe way, linking with you and listening, saying, "Hey, I'm listening to you, Anjelah." So I find that as again a validation for you on your own spiritual journey and also your own journey itself, but while doing this work, while doing ghost stories.
So there's some questions in here. Let me know if there's any that you see, AJ, that you want to answer. Go ahead and read through a couple of those, and then I'll tell another story that just happened. So this just happened last night. Okay. I don't know if it's a spiritual thing or a homeless man, but this was
I don't know if it's the guy in the dumpster or low key.
Okay, so last night we're sitting by the campfire in the backyard, and which I was real mad at myself because I just blow dried my hair, and then now it smells like campfire. I'm so mad at myself. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. So we go to bed at like almost midnight, and all of a sudden Bonzo has to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. He rarely has to do that. So then I take him at 2 a.m. to go in the backyard. And I'm already like, I don't like to go in the backyard like in the middle of the night. So I got my flashlight out. I have this full on like big police grade like flashlight. Like I'm full on. I'm telling you that full confidence.
Blunt force trauma flashlight.
Yeah. Exactly. It's my weapon. It's for sure my weapon. That's why I got it. And I'm like, I wish you would come close. So I'm outside being like faux confidence and taking Bonzo potty. And it's like from 2 a.m. till like, I don't know, 2:15. Then we come back in the house. We go to bed. I fall back asleep. Maybe 2:45, I hear a knock. It was 3 knocks. Right? And I'm like, my room is towards the front of the house, but I couldn't tell if the knock was coming from the front or the back. It was just like a knock. And I was like, did somebody just knock? And I'm looking out the window to see if I see a shadow walking by. No shadow walking by. And then I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for the doorbell to ring to see if somebody rings the doorbell. No doorbell, no second knock. And I'm like, I must be tripping. So then I wait to see if Penelope sends me a text message, because we've heard things in the night and she'll usually text me and go, did you hear that? And I'll be like, yeah, that was the whatever. And we text each other if she's in the other room. She didn't text me. So I'm like, I must be tripping. It was nothing. I go back to sleep. Today she goes, hey, did you hear a knock last night? And I was
No.
yeah, I did hear a knock. And she was like, that was weird. It was like 2:45 in the morning. And I was like, are you sure it's 2:45 in the morning? And she was like, yeah, because I heard it. I looked at my phone. I saw it was 2:45. And I was like, hell no, I'm not getting up. Like whoever's knocking, they're going to have to keep knocking because no, thank you. And so she just went back to bed. Right. And I was like, 2:45. So that's like after Bonzo and I came back in the house. So then I look at the cameras to see who was there. Our cameras went out. The internet went out. The internet stopped working. So I was like, okay, internet stopped working. But then I look online and it says, okay, there's an outage in your area. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm in the cool. It's not no spiritual interactions, nothing like that. Right. So then I finally get the internet back on and I look at my cameras and it doesn't show footage because it didn't record the footage, but it does show the motion. So it shows the motion from the time Bonzo and I were walking in the backyard from like 2:07 to like 2:15. And that's it. No more motion. So there was no motion recorded when the knock happened at 2:45. We have no idea what the knock was, but both of us heard it. And we're on different parts of the house.
Yeah. So in a very, crazy way, and not to freak you out, but oftentimes people say when you hear knocks, it might be a poltergeist type of energy. So knocks are always like 3 times when they knock. Yeah, exactly. So, but I don't think it's anything of that nature. Sometimes again, for me, I think outside the box when I do this work, was it windy? Was it the house settling? Was it twigs or something, blowing against the door? Like, I think outside the box because I wasn't there in that very moment. And so sometimes that helps people to understand, oh, it was wind. It wasn't spirit. It wasn't this. It wasn't that, to kind of ease the mind in that situation. But I can't really say that, again, it's nothing evil. I don't feel like it's anything evil. I just feel like it might be, again, something causing it, or 2, it could be actually something paranormal. But the fact, again, that both of you guys heard that knocked and also witnessed that experience or validate that experience together, it lets me know there's something spiritual that's happening that's there. I don't think it's a haunting or residual energy, but it might be, again, something significant. And this could be either your friend's Lisa, your friend Lisa's way of communicating with you, or letting you know. It could be different loved ones coming through to recognize you guys, because not every event is going to be paranormal or spiritual. Again, everything can be dissected. And for me, I dissect everything. Even for me as an investigator, psychic medium, I dissect everything. I don't believe everything that I get. But someone did mention something about orbs on here as well. I'm actually going to flip on my light real quick because it's kind of getting a little dark real quick.
Yeah, sure. I feel like
all right.
It could also definitely be a homeless man who just knocked at my door, because we kind of live in the hood right now.
The ghost of the valley.
Yeah, it's the ghost of the valley is what it is. Yeah, so did you see a question you wanted to answer in here? There's a bunch.
Here it is. It's there's a couple of them. So
what are orbs? Are they spirits? Right there on the screen.
There they are. There it is. Sorry. So orbs, orbs are a great example of energy. So when we look at orbs, again, I debunk them all the time. A lot of people ask me about orbs. Is it my loved ones? Is it so and so coming through? Orbs can kind of be debunked by dust, lens flare, little bugs flying around. Not every orb that you capture will be a loved one, but orbs are energy, and that could represent either your own loved ones communicating with you. Oftentimes, orbs, people will see orbs in different colors, like blue, green, yellow, like basically the color of the rainbow, the chakras. So when you see that, that lets you know that there's kind of like a charged orb. Basically, there's something that's communicating, that's coming through around you, to recognize they're with you. Two, that can also be a spiritual guide or your angels letting you know they're around you. So I tell people in those very moments to put it out there, acknowledge it, talk and say, who is it? Who's around me? And if you get it as a thought or as a feeling, it's their way of communicating with you, because not everything's going to be like, hey, this is your Uncle Joe from 1969 that passed away with a heart attack. It's not going to come through that way. It's going to be more of a feeling or as a thought, but orbs and spirits go hand in hand.
Interesting.
And
so
go ahead.
This one's Olivia. Hi, Anjelah and AJ. I've been thinking about spreading both of my mom's ashes along with our family pet's ashes together on our property, 20 acres. Is it okay to spread ashes together?
Yeah, I don't see that as an issue at all. I don't get the impression, even from spirit, like if I tap into that energy, I don't get the impression that spirit's saying like, no, don't do that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think they're going to be stuck there on the property, even if the family decides to move away or do this or do that. People think it might be a little taboo, like, oh my God, you're putting someone's ashes there in the yard or so on and so forth. But I don't think it's a bad idea, because they're still connected with you, connected to that ground or that property. If it's going to stay in the family, it doesn't mean that just because you spread their ashes in the ocean, they're there. Our loved ones live within us. They're in our mind, body, and soul. They're not at a cemetery. They're not in an urn. Their ashes, their physical, physical body is there, basically, that's left behind, but not their soul, not their spirit. So I don't see that as a bad situation.
That's kind of more for us, huh?
Absolutely, because we go to cemeteries to help us in the healing process and the grieving process. So it's to help us to feel closer to them. So if people go to the cemeteries or they do celebrations still in honor of the loved ones, it's to help us heal and grow in that process, to move on without them. Because I tell my clients, we don't really want closure of a loved one, because when we want closure, we're ending a chapter to that person or that loved one. We want healing. We want validation. We want to evolve with them. So I tell people, when you connect with a loved one, just know that they're evolving and growing with you during those times. So cemeteries are good. Urns are good to have if that helps you feel better. But again, they're not upset. They're not going to be angry at you at all whatsoever.
Good to know. Did you have a question you wanted to answer on here, AJ?
Yeah, well, there's a couple people that were mentioning about their own different experiences, which is super cool, because there was one gal, I can't remember where the question was, but I think she lost her husband or her ex-husband. And I found that fascinating, because she was talking about that there was a Coke can that just flew across the floor, across the kitchen. And in reality, her husband was a major Coca-Cola drinker. So I feel like in some ways, when you have things like that randomly that happen, and the first thing that you thought of, you and your mother, was I think his name was Theo that she posted in there. That's a great example of their way knowing that, boom, I'm right there with you. So whoever comes to you in that very moment, it's a great example of your loved one saying, hey, this is me saying hello from heaven or from the other side.
That's cool.
Interesting. A couple people mentioned scents when they smell the scent of their grandmother or their husband or whoever. Like, what do you have to say about like scents?
Yeah, scents are very big. It takes a lot of energy for spirit to produce them. So if you're smelling
Hmm.
cologne, alcohol, perfume, someone that baked, that was a baker, they will use all these scents to let you know that they're around you. And I feel like when that happens, it's their way linking with you in that very moment. For me as a medium, I get a lot of smells that do come through in reading. So for instance, if I smell like fresh bread, that could represent someone was a baker, they owned a bakery
Hmm.
shop, and that's this is what they did for a living. Two, if I smell like this is very, it's not common for me. If I, have you walk into say a deli and you can smell all the meats and cheeses and
Yeah.
stuff like that, especially Italian deli. So when you smell that, for me, I know that someone in spirit was a deli cutter, that they worked in the meat department, they were a meat cutter, they worked on a farm. So they'll give me references for that. But any of you guys that are linking with your grandmother's perfume or a loved one's cologne or someone that smoked a lot of cigars or cigarettes, these are messages for you to let you know that they're here with you. Because the one thing we want to think about is like, who is it? And again, whoever comes to you in that very moment or whoever you think of, it's probably that person that's coming through to let you know that they're here with you. Our loved ones will give us these signs through smells, feelings, thoughts, dreams to let us know that they're around you because either their birthday or death anniversary is coming up or just passed, or two, there might be a reference to either your birthday is coming up and it's their way acknowledging you.
That is interesting. I feel like God speaks to me in smells, but I rarely smell the scent of like, oh, actually that's a lie. I do smell my grandmother in washcloths. If I like warm water on a washcloth and I'm putting it on my face, the smell of the washcloth reminds me, like it takes me back to her washing my face with a washcloth. So that particular smell, but I feel like God speaks to me to a lot in smells when I'm like walking down the street or I walk into a building, whatever, and all of a sudden I smell something and I'm like, I smell third grade. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but all of a sudden, whatever that smell is, I'm back in third grade in my mind. Like, I feel like I have those kinds of things as opposed to, oh, I smell Uncle so and so,
100%, because those memories are there for us to remember that memory of that loved one who's passed over. So if you're thinking about like, oh my God, this reminds me of my grandmother every time I smell this cloth and it takes me to the moment of third grade, there's a reason why. And that could be a very fond memory, a very great memory of them, or two, it could be a sad memory when they transition. But
Hmm.
when those memories come to you, it's their way communicating their messages to you. Like oftentimes when I do private readings, when they come through, loved ones will talk about moments, when they were still living or about the person's childhood or the person who they're talking about their childhood, to recognize those signs and signals that this is my way coming through, or this is the message I want to get across to you. So I think that's a beautiful experience, Anjelah, that you're having, knowing that there's a higher power channeling through you and recognizing your own gift. Because I told you this, when I first connected with you, you're absolutely gifted. You have you're very sensitive to energy and to people in itself. So I feel like it's about you just honing into it through God or spirit or the
Mhm.
universe, and really just accepting it and embracing it, but not embracing it that you have to talk to the ghost, but
Right.
embracing it in a way saying, what, I accept it. I know it comes from good light, it comes from good energy, and knowing that I can have this opportunity to communicate with my own loved ones or communicate with God at any moment that I want to.
Yeah. This was a interesting comment here. Monica, do you think when we miscarry that our kids still visit? I had 3 miscarries.
100%. What was her name again? Monica. There it is.
Monica.
Monica, absolutely. And sorry for your recent loss, or for your loss in general, of the children. So when children do come through, they come through to me as energy, as everything comes through to me as energy, but they come to me as like a ball of energy. So oftentimes, loved ones will actually show me as if they're holding a baby. Doesn't mean that it made it here physically, but it lets me know that the baby is with that loved one who's passed over, or two, there's a new child coming into the picture. What I can tell you, when I communicated with individuals that lost their child or a miscarriage, they do come through in readings, but they don't have a
Mm.
lot of life expectancy because they can't communicate. They don't have the vocal cords. They didn't have the life lessons that they would have had. Sometimes they'll come through just to validate and saying, "Hey, I'm here," but there won't be a lot of information. This is very interesting, Anjelah, and those who are watching. I did a reading for a gal, and the whole reading, out of my 20 years of doing this work, I would say 45 minutes out of that hour reading, everything was about the child speaking about the mother, the father, what they've done, what they have,
Mm.
what they're going through, their transitions, the pain. And yeah, I mean, going through, and I've never had that happen where they just communicate because they passed at a very young age. But then she told me, well, she said, I lost my daughter 19 years ago. So that lets me know that her soul and spirit was still growing with mom and dad 19
Hmm.
years later to
Wow.
validate that I'm still with you, which is a beautiful reference and a beautiful experience. So for
Wow.
you, Monica, those children do come through. They will recognize you. So if you ever go to a medium or psychic, or you ever get a reading or feel connected in some ways or inspired by a higher power, know that you will sense that it's going to be more of a feeling, because mothers are connected to that umbilical cord. So you're going to sense your children that have transitioned at your gut, at your solar plexus. It's not going to be as a thought. It's going to be a feeling.
There's this one here. This is Rachel. Are animals really able to come through as spirit in a way that you can connect with, since they obviously cannot speak?
I love this. Animals absolutely 100% can come through in readings. I am not an animal communicator. I know individuals that do this work specifically for living in animals that are passed over. But when animals do come through, they will talk about their passing. I don't speak animal. I don't speak dog or cat or whatnots. But when animals do come through, I can, I would say about 90% of the time, say, oh, I got like a cocker spaniel, or I got like I don't know, like a Frenchie dog coming through, and it's this color, and it's bringing up this is its name, or it's this color, or it's talking about how it transitioned or what's going on in your life. So animals do come through, but very rarely for me as a medium. I don't have like full on readings with animals. There was a gal that did lose her dog, and her dog, I think for that half hour, kind of came in for like 15 minutes, and she was more emotional over her dog than her own loved
Aw.
ones that were coming through, which is a beautiful thing, because
Yeah.
there's a beautiful reference that the dog was talking about. I said, like, I'm talking to you right now, but your dog is saying there's something right in front of you but below you that you have in honor of your dog. And she goes, no. I go, yes. I go, and she all of a sudden she moves her frame, which is the dog that she was on her desk, the dog that passed over. She moves the frame. She goes, oh my God. She goes, I totally forgot I dedicated this whole crystal shrine for my dog about a week ago, and I did not even remember. So again, they will bring up moments to let us know that they're around us. So again, everything has energy, guys. So a dog, a cat, a monkey, all that good stuff, they can all come through. A funny reference happened here. This was when I was traveling doing shows. I was in Virginia Beach, or yeah, Virginia, I can't remember, somewhere in Virginia, and I was doing an audience reading, and I was connecting with loved ones and this and that. And I get pulled to the audience. I go, lady in the 5th row or whatever row, and red, or, stand up. I go, this will sound bizarre, but I go, like, there's someone in this section. I don't know if it's with you, but I got a monkey coming through. And everyone in the audience is laughing. They're like laughing. Like, I go, no, seriously, I have a monkey that's coming through. And she starts getting emotional. She goes, I actually just lost my capuchin about a couple months ago. And I actually just
Wow.
came here specifically to hear from my animal. So
Oh.
yeah, so there are moments like that that happen that blow my mind. That doesn't surprise me, but blows my mind, because I always say what I get, even though I can be wrong and will be wrong. If it's coming through, I'll say it. I don't mind being wrong or misinterpreting the information, but there's always a reason why the message is supposed to come through for the sitter or the person I'm speaking with.
This next question here is a really good one. This is big in, like, I would say, like, the church and the Christian community. Like, I've seen there's been a few times where I've talked to different people where I've been like, oh, I had a dream of my grandma, and then somebody will be like, oh, that wasn't your grandma, like that was a demon pretending to be your grandma.
Right.
So there's this question here from Hero Mark. How would you differentiate a ghost and a demon pretending to be a ghost or a loved one?
Yeah. So with demons per se, I work with good light, good intentions. So I'm never gonna summons upon something negativity, something evil. I've never experienced where a loved one comes through as something evil or negative in my work itself. If you're involved in some negativity and you're provoking and you're doing harm or you're causing harm in the work itself, they're gonna kind of like, put like a veil like a, I can't think of the word I want to use, like a mask over themselves in some ways to say, oh, we're good, we're content. It's like people that have dreams of loved ones. They say, like, oh my God, I don't know if it was something evil, something negative. I saw a person in black, and I don't know if they were, trying to attack me. But I feel like that if you understand, and understand it comes from good light, good intention, you're only going to attract that energy. But again, for someone who's coming from a point of religion or spirituality, you have to understand your belief and understand if you're grounded or protected in that work. But over the years of me doing this, I've never had a negative experience of a loved one coming through pretending to be someone. So I feel like that if you understand where you stand as an individual, that's all that matters, because it's not about proving what's right, what's wrong, but understanding the message that you're receiving and knowing that, again, it comes from good light.
Major, I have a quick question about that too, because I've been involved in some church spaces, and I feel like sometimes people have a bit of it's like a fantasy of what is evil and how the evil works, or like it's mostly informed by something that's kind of like play pretend a little bit. Like we don't really know, but it's informed by like a tradition or a passed down narrative of what is and isn't evil. Would you find that like when people are presenting those questions to you, there's often a misunderstanding of what we think evil looks like, that maybe it's not quite as dark or like willfully intense as some people kind of like have been taught to think it is?
100%. 100%. You have to understand like how we grew up, how our belief system is, or how it was, or how it is today. I grew up devout Catholic, and I went to church, all the time, and went to catechism, worked in youth ministries, did the whole 9 yards in that. And so for me, doing this work was taboo. It was negative. The church didn't really want me being involved with it because it was like totally like not against things, and they thought I was going to influence them and bring them part of my witchcraft tribe or something, you know what I mean? So it was very negative in that form. So I ended up not doing a lot of youth retreats, not being involved with it, because it was just too much for me. And plus, I was kind of like a live wire. I was open to my religion. I was open up to, being part of my church and being part of that faith, which I still believe in God and a higher power and all that good stuff. So it's not that I don't believe in a God. I believe that there's more that's there. But since we're taught a certain way, we're going to continue to live in that belief system to say, oh, this is evil because this is what it says in the Bible. It's evil because this is what I was taught. You would not believe how many Christians have sat with me because they want to explore the paranormal, quote unquote, the afterlife. They want to do it, or they don't want their family members to know. So oftentimes I record all my sessions via Zoom, and they go, this goes to me. It's not going to be like out, mailed to any of my family members or anything. I go, no, this is just strictly
Don't post
to you.
it. Don't tag me.
Exactly. No, exactly. So people freak out because there's so much fear or there's so much hate around it, because like it's looked upon in a negative way. And there's people that believe in my work, that support my work, that just say like, you're doing an amazing job. You're doing great with what you're doing. You're healing so many lives. And I believe God put me here on this physical realm to help so many people. And I feel like there's a reason why I'm placed here, because my background, I actually wanted to work in law enforcement. I actually wanted to be a firefighter. I started taking my classes, and at age 19, my career as a medium really kind of took off, where I landed an alley radio show for almost 4.5 years. I was doing that from 7 to midnight, doing them live. So when things happen, they're supposed to happen. But I just need people to understand, when you come into this work, and having a belief system, just think outside the box just a little bit. Just a little bit. Doesn't mean you have to believe in it, but just look outside the box a little bit, and knowing that there is positivity out of religion and also out of spirituality.
Love that. Let's take 2 more questions before we sign off. This one was interesting here. I had a dream about my making an altar for my dad. He passed away 11 years ago. Does that mean he was trying to communicate with me?
Oh, wow. Jess, that is just a beautiful, beautiful thing that happened here. So for me, as doing this work, there are dreams and there's also visitations. Dreams are where we're kind of in this lucid state of mind. We're aware that who's coming through, what's happening in the dream, but we can't really kind of like communicate or can't really do much, but we remember that dream. There's also a part of this work, which we call visitations. For you, Jess, this was a visitation for you. This was your dad coming to you to let you know that he's thinking about you and expressing his love and gratitude towards you in that very moment. The fact that you were just thinking about or had a dream about, doing this altar, this is his way recognizing and giving you a thumbs up from the other side, from heaven, and saying, I approve it and I want you to move forward. So if you just have a photo up, or if you built an altar or still planning to do it, just know this is something that you should move forward to honor him, or just tell him, thanks, Dad, for coming through. Because when we have visitations are where it feels so vivid, like hills are alive, like 3D, everything. And you can feel like that, the emotion of you crying, you can feel it as if they're communicating with you or talking or touching you. That's a visitation that no one can take away from you. Not even a psychic medium. No one can take that away from you, because that's supposed to be for you.
Wow. Okay, last one. There's so many good ones in here.
I know I see a bunch of them just all coming in.
I know. I mean, it's up to you, AJ. How many
Just
you
go with
can
your
do?
gut. Just go with your gut.
Okay. Let's see here. Christina, my 15-year-old daughter, has been seeing a couple of people standing, one being a tall man, in the corner of her room since she was 3 or 4 years old. I thought she would grow out of it, but she still sees them. Not as often, but she still sees them. She also has very vivid dreams and false awakenings also every night. What can I do to help her?
Yeah, so interesting thing here. So I want to be very respectful to Christina and her daughter, and she's 15 years old now. So here's the thing. Typically, what happens here, I don't want to say it's a loved one, but I do want to say it's either a spiritual guide, a guardian angel that's looking out for you, because I feel like when we come into this physical realm, we are already assigned angels and guides, if you will, if those who believe in spiritual guides, they are assigned to us. They're basically like light workers that are supposed to help us there, help us out here in the physical realm. With Christina's daughter, typically at the age of 14 years old, we lose sight, or we lose that natural energy of recognizing what's real, what's not, because we're taught to believe in certain things and taught what not to believe. So we're taught not to believe in certain fairy tales and the Easter Bunny and all these different things. And so when we're influenced by other things, that ability starts to disappear. So if you embrace it and nurture that ability, your daughter will continue to have very calm energies or very calm dreams. What I would recommend for you as being a mother to your daughter who's 15 years old is just have her communicate with you, have her, write things down. Like for me, I have notepads all the time near me, or I use my
Hmm.
cell phone to write in my notes. So when I dream of something, I just immediately go in my notes and I write it down. Even if it doesn't make any sense at all whatsoever, it may make sense a month, 3 months down the road. I go, oh, that's why I dreamt of this, or this is why this dream comes through. I feel like that during those times as well for your daughter, you can use sage, Palo Santo, certain crystals. You can use an amethyst, put it by your daughter's bed. You can use a crystal quartz. You can use one of those, a clear quartz, put it by her bed as well to help with dreams. You can use dream catchers. I don't have a dream catcher. I thought I had one here on my desk, but you can use a dream catcher, put it by her bed, over her bed, or on a ceiling fan.
I
So
thought
it can
those were
take
just cute decorations.
well,
I mean, they
yeah,
are
I mean,
cute.
yeah,
They
it
definitely
could be, but it depends how much, how much energy and how much you manifest in that as well.
Mm.
And so if you start working with crystals and using crystals, you're going to put that energy into that. Oftentimes you want to cleanse them or clear them on a full moon if you want to charge them, or, clear them with a sea salt or Himalayan salt and do all that good stuff. But I would recommend, one, obviously embracing your daughter's natural ability. Two, I would recommend some grounding and protection, not from anything evil or anything negative, but have her write everything down, kind of like a dream journal, and that will help
Mhm.
her out, kind of like calm things down, but also understand her gift or ability much more.
Oh, I have a dream journal in my phone. Do you keep your dreams in your
I don't
notes?
dream very often.
Really?
Like I'll have dreams that I feel like there's somebody told me once that like when it's my experience has been in like church spaces. So it was like if it's a God dream, you'll know it. That's very fewer and further between for me. A lot of times my dreams are mostly like circumstantial to my daily life and less
You're stressed.
less feeling
Sitting in
successful.
traffic.
Yeah, it's more just like it's like I'm under rested.
There's a dog chasing you always.
I had too many peanut butter puffins at 11:30 at night, and
This, look at, I don't know if you can see it. This is
Oh yeah, yep.
These are all my dreams.
Yep, it's great to have, and
Look at
especially technology is so
Ooh.
close to us.
Look at
That's
that.
what I mean. Those
I
dreams
wish.
again is going to represent something for you, Anjelah, if they haven't already manifested or kind of materialized already. Two, there could be some other meaning that God, the higher being, is trying to communicate with you. Your guides or angels are trying to resonate some sort of message for you. Because again, you said it perfectly. Like I don't dream that often. Like I don't or you do dream as often. You just don't remember them because you're in an altered state of mind. It could be you're at the delta or beta state of mind where you're in a deep REM or deep sleep, and you're recognizing nothing, like you're not remembering anything. So this is why I'm saying just write anything that comes through, even if it seems like what you said, Anjelah, like I was being chased by a dog. Write it down because it may not make sense, but if that you being chased by a dog could represent that you're running from something. Or
I do often have dreams that tend to come like glimpses and things that happen in real life within a couple
like
months.
premonition type.
Yeah,
things?
like stuff where you're like, wow, that just happened. But then it's usually boring, like State of the Union address. And like, I saw it, but I welcome to the chamber, everybody. That happened once. I was like, wow, that was a lame dream.
That is funny. But you know, and that's the thing. Like sometimes things are again very literal when they come through for us and for you. Those are premonitions. Those are absolutely premonitions. And don't fault yourself or fear it, but just know that there's a reason why you're receiving that message, and there's a reason why you're supposed to understand it, maybe to help yourself out. And fear or pain or grief, there's always a reason why we have these dreams, and dreams will always mean something else. So I'm not a dream expert, but I've experienced a lot of dreams from certain clients that I'm like, I'm seeing this because it's what's coming through. And typically a client will say, that resonates with me because this is what I'm going through. So I try to interpret them as a medium, as a intuitive, but not 100% sure because I'm not a dream expert.
Okay, this one here is very interesting. I've never heard of this before, but I've been told by a medium that my parents who have dementia can come through readings because their minds are kind of in two realms. My dad, who is living, came through to her saying how much he loved when I came and cooked dinner for them.
100%. Tracy,
Really?
100%.
Oh, what?
That is not I'm surprised someone even mentioned this or brought this up here. I don't think many mediums even have experienced this. So either you're a very, great medium, you're great at what you do, or you're very well connected spiritually. But our loved ones can come through when they're in altered state of mind, in a coma, in a vegetative state, dementia,
Whoa.
because they were in altered minds. They were in two different places. Like they're coexisting in the physical and spiritual realm. So
Sheesh.
oftentimes then when we go talk to a loved one, we go like, if they're in a vegetative state, we're like, I really hope they can hear me. And we're talking and sharing stories and all that good stuff. And if that person goes sits with a medium, that message that conversation that you had with that individual may come to that reading to recognize that they were aware, even though they weren't physically in that physical body, that their soul was coming and going. There is a reading that I've done years ago. That's when I first experienced it. I think it was maybe 20 years old when I did the work. And there was a man who was in the hospital. He was bedridden. He was just basically brain dead. I mean, the family was just keeping in line for their benefit, for their sake, because they didn't want to let him go. And that's what we typically do. We hold on because we don't want to release because it's very difficult. During that time, I did not know this till after the fact. She goes like, oh my God, everything that you said about my grandfather is 100%. The name, how, what he's going through and what he loved and what he enjoyed, XYZ. But she goes, I need to tell you something. My grandfather, he's in a coma. He's in a vegetative state. Like, he's still alive. And when I realized that, I was like, boom, mind blown. Like, oh my God. So I forgot who it was that asked that question, but 100% your loved ones can come through an altered state of mind because, again, they're coexisting. They're living between two worlds, basically.
Wow.
That's intense. That is so crazy. AJ, this has been amazing per usual. Thank you so much for not only taking the time to answer all of these questions from everyone, but to help me process what happened on the episode. Do you have any advice for me moving forward with ghost stories with Anjelah? Because, I get a lot of the comments from people that are like, you're opening up a door to the demonic and be careful with that and all of that. And I'm like, ding dong, hi. But what is your advice moving forward your advice to me moving forward with this podcast?
Yeah. Since you're, the one of the driver's seat, obviously doing the show, I would always, bless, the place either before or afterwards. So blessing it, that could be through prayer or meditation, using sage, Palo Santo, candles, crystals, having them out, because you're grounding and you're creating a sacred space. So I feel like when you create sacred space, you're creating an energy for positivity and good energy and good intention. Even though you may get stories that are bizarre, freaky, and creepy, you're protecting not only your sacred space, but also maybe the feed and the energy. I know that sounds bizarre, but you want that good intention. You want the good energy from your audience, the people that are watching it, because you want to trust that what you're doing is something right. It's something amazing that you're putting out there. And so long as you're grounded and protected in that state of mind, you'll be good. For me, people tell me I joke around this. How can I say this in a very straightforward way? I tell people I'm kind of like Motel 6. I leave the light on for the spirit world. It's like the light's always on. So when they check in, they check in. When I turn off my light, I'm off. So you kind of have to be in control of what you're doing. So when you do ghost stories, just open up, ground and protect yourself. When you're done, close yourself through prayer, meditation, and then you're done. So spirit is not hanging out with you in your home, your basement, wherever you're at, or they're not traveling back to Nashville or LA with you.
Unit 6450 a night.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hilarious. Somebody also was asking in here, like, how somebody wanted closure with their brother who passed away. So how can they be connected to you or someone like you to help them get that closure? So your website is here, ajbarrera.com, and your Instagram at AJ_Barrera. But tell everybody what's the best way to schedule a reading with you.
Yeah, absolutely. All my readings are done virtually. It's all done via Zoom. So if people are looking to have a consultation, and this could be either connecting with loved ones or intuitive guidance, things that are going on in your personal life, career, life, business, relationships, all that good stuff, you just go to ajbarrera.com. All the information is listed there. I do not handle any of my appointments. My office does. So if there's something that you get stuck on or you don't know how to do it, you can always email my assistant and they can help you out there as well. But other than that, I also have a bunch of live events that are going live. I think tomorrow, all my tickets go on sale tomorrow, and these are virtual, these are online events. Yeah, they're pocket friendly. Yeah, they're pocket friendly. So if you're looking to maybe experience a mediumship event, but not actually having the opportunity to maybe have a reading, because there are a certain amount of people that are on there, which I can't get to everyone, but it's an opportunity where I get pulled to. It works like my live audience events, but I'm just pulled onto a tile basically, or to a little person that's on there. That's how I go with that. But that's on my events page at ajbarrera.com, and you can find all the information listed there as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, AJ. We appreciate you.
Yes.
Everybody, thank you for leaving comments and questions for AJ. Follow him on Instagram, go to his website, schedule an appointment. And thank you again. I really appreciate you helping me stay calm and at peace as I continue my Ghost Stories podcast.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you for always reaching out and always having me and being part of this. And I respect both of you guys here today for being open and receptive to everything that came through. So if you guys ever need anything, Anjelah, just holler or shoot me a text.
Thank you. Thank you so much, AJ. We'll talk to you soon. I want to have you on again in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much.
Bye.
Bye.
So that was intense. That was really informative. How do you feel?
That was wild. I mean, it's so crazy because I don't have a ton of experience in this space, but at the same time, I'm obsessed with it.
Same.
So it's really amazing to just watch. And also this, I mean, everyone's questions, like it's amazing to hear everyone's experiences, unique experiences, supernatural and the spiritual, and especially how it relates to your families and your loved ones, the people that you care about. And that's amazing to watch how we're always connecting. Yeah. Even with or without validation from someone like an AJ, there is this like real visceral thing that everyone's going through. And that's a real like blessing and honor to be able to see. Totally. So thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Thank you for sharing your stories in the comment section. If you want to join me on one of my future episodes, go to anjelah.com/ghost stories. You can submit your story there, and then I may pick you to come on live and come share it with us, and we'll talk about it, ask all kinds of questions, and it'll be great. So submit your story at anjelah.com/ghost stories. And thank you so much. Subscribe to my podcast so you can listen to it wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And thank you guys so much. Until next time, we'll see ya. Bye, everybody. Bye. Yeah, I know I'm a problem.